Is the housing market about to get absolutely insane again? Possibly. Let's check it out. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Christian Morrison. I am a local real estate agent here in the Rapid City area. This is Rapid City Real Estate News, where I kind of dive in every week to what's happening here locally in the Rapid City real estate world. Everybody talks about real estate for whatever reason. It's a really hot topic. Everybody always has their opinion, thinks they know what's going on. So I created this show to kind of help clarify exactly what's happening here locally in Rapid City. So there's no question, so you know the exact numbers and know from a real source what is happening. So this last week, if you've heard me in the previous couple episodes, I've talked about how we've seen a slowdown from, let's call it March through July. We saw a little bit of a slowdown from July, August, in a big way, to where we weren't getting crazy amount of over list price. There wasn't as many offers. Everything was still selling right away for list price or a little bit over, but it wasn't as insane as the months before that. Now, I've seen some stuff in the last 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, somewhere in there, that has made me start to change my mind that something else is going to happen. I think we're about to see another boom like we did at the beginning of this year and in the early summer. A reason I say that is, and this is what I think it's coming from, not 100% sure, but I think the other states that are locking down, having mandates, are getting people to move again from their states. They had a little glimmer of hope, and then they got these mandates, or whatever the reason is, but that seems to be what's ticking it, especially out of California and places like that where they're getting more strict on stuff. I think they're going to get people that want to leave there and come here. So, for example, I hadn't seen in a while, hadn't seen houses get more than 3-4 offers on them when they list. And last week I saw 5 different houses get at least 12 to 15 offers on them. So I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And I personally had clients put in offers, 20, 30, 40,000 over asking price and not even get them last week. So that reminds me of late spring, early summer of last year. So I think that's coming back. I really do. I think that's going to happen here in the next couple months. We're going to see that push for those people leaving. One of the things I think it is that the California recall election didn't go as planned, and so now everybody's like, all right, that was our last ditch effort. Now we're getting out of California. I've got some calls from people moving from there, and that's what gives me that idea that that's the reason they're doing that. That's the reason that they all say they're leaving now. It's because they thought that wasn't going to happen, and it did, so they're out. So with that being said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the next 3, 4 to 8 weeks in the winter, because normally the winter eases up a little bit. Last year did not at all. This year I think it's going to be insane. Really going to be insane, because usually less people list their houses in the winter. So if we have a giant influx of people coming here, what's going to happen with prices is they're going to go crazy for the winter. And then this ever-looming thing of January 2022 is the military base, they say, is going to start bringing people in. The last I heard, I could be wrong, last I heard is that's when that's going to start. So when that comes in, I expect that to be another push. And if this push is still happening, it could get insane in a big way. So only say this to prepare you for it, so okay, maybe the market isn't softening up right now. And I personally don't think it's going to soften, meaning it's not going to go to a point where it's less than, let's say, 8 to 10% increase year over year for the next 3 to 5 years, somewhere in that range. So if you're on the fence about it, I could be wrong about this. Everything is speculation, but from everything I'm reading, everything I'm seeing, that's telling me that that's what's going to happen, is that it's going to continue for the next 3 to 5 years at this rate. Probably not at the 20 to 25% rate like it is right now, but definitely in the 8 to 10% rate, which is a giant rate of return on your money if you think about it that way. So I definitely think that's going to happen. Now, with that being said, if you're thinking about selling it, obviously it's going to be a good time because you're going to be able to sell it right away, most likely for at ask or above at the moment. So I think if you're on the fence about selling something, you should probably do it, especially... Okay, there's a caveat to that. Maybe I spoke too soon. I almost think you shouldn't sell unless you're planning on getting back into the market for sure. If you're like, oh, hey, this seems like a good time to sell, cash out, use that money to pay off other debt or whatever. I don't know if that's a smart move, because then you might just sell and then price yourself out of the market to where you can't ever get back in. If you're going to sell, I think it's probably best to sell, get back into the market, unless you never want to be a homeowner again, or you're planning on leaving the state in 6-8 months or something like that. And you're like, hey, I could sell now while the market's hot. You definitely could. But if you're not planning on getting back in the market, or if you're not planning on moving from the area, I would definitely not sell unless I was doing one of those things, if that made sense. Anyway, so that being said, definitely is a good time to sell and buy, because you're going to get a lot of your house. It's going to be expensive to buy for sure, and that was the struggle. Most of spring and summer this year, as I had clients that were like, God, is it ever going to slow down? I want to sell and buy. And then everybody started doing it, and we had a lot of the locals get back into the market. And now that this is happening, I'm like, I don't know what these locals are going to do now if it continues like this. And maybe that's just a fluke week. Hopefully I'll let you know next week and the weeks to come. But hopefully that's what it was, so we don't see it too crazy. But it was definitely a very, very interesting week, to say the least. Anyways, I keep rambling on these things, but there's just a lot going on, so I like to talk about it. So one thing I've talked about in the past with a market like this is it a good time to get into new construction? Because you're going to get it. A few things have changed with new construction. I've talked about it before. But, new construction is not as good as it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It's still a good option, I think, because that means you're probably going to for sure get something. Here's the two questions on new construction. What's it going to cost when it's done? And two, how long is it going to take? Me personally, I've talked about this, but I just built a house, and it took about 4.5 months longer than I thought it would, than they told me it would, and cost about $15,000 more. Now, that's on the low side of costing more. I have a client that's building a house right now as well, and that house is, I think it's gone up about 55 or 60 grand so far. And that's not, and this house is only a $320,000 house, so it's not like $1 million house. These margins are a lot on this house. So, what's it going to cost at the end? How long is it going to take? Most stuff is taken, from what I've seen, 3 months all the way up to a year longer than you think. So that's one other thing to keep in mind. It's still a decent option because you can get something. And a lot of the builders now are not even listing stuff until it's 90% complete, because they don't want to give people an unrealistic time frame, unrealistic cost. So they're waiting till they can tell you for sure cost and a for sure time. So that's a good thing. But I will say, if you've been hesitating selling and buying, I wouldn't hesitate much longer. You need to do it and get into the market now before it gets absolutely crazy, in my opinion. And it could slow down. A lot of people are like, I'm going to wait it out. I think this is going to slow down. You might be right. It's possible. But just from what I'm seeing and what other people that I'm talking to that are smarter than me are saying, we all kind of thinking the same thing. It's going to continue and get maybe worse in the next year or two. So yeah, I digress. Now let's get into the numbers. Sorry I rambled so much, but I just had a lot on my mind this week about that. So let's talk about numbers. 40 houses hit the market this week. That's average of 310,000. Week before was like 50, so it's a little bit less. Still a good number for us. 18 of those houses went under contract. That means they have an accepted offer on them. 32 houses sold last week. Median price being $292,500 being the sold price. Median list price being $286,000. It's only about $9,000 over asking price between all those. And so one thing I will say is last week's numbers don't reflect these sold, because these have been under contract. It takes about 45 to 55 days for the house to close from the time they get an accepted offer on it. So that's why you're not seeing that reflected yet from what I talked about with the crazy over asking. That's not reflected in that yet. We won't see that till next month or the month after. 112 total active houses right now, which is still a solid number. That's why I'm saying jump into the market now before it gets to where there's nothing available. 112 active houses. The average price is $353,900. So basically $354,000 on those. Average days on the market, so the days until it gets an accepted offer, is 13. That's down from 19 last week. So I think we're going to see that number keep trending down personally. Probably down in the 4 to 5 range again. Today's interest rate's 3.21%. Oh, here's another thing I forgot to talk about. This reminded me of it. Interest rates, I was talking to a lender the other day who does the most business in the Black Hills by far. And he said that however they track this, that the Fed is talking about raising interest rates, or however that works. It's going to happen in the next couple weeks, he thinks, and he thinks it could go up by 1%. So that's just something else to watch out for, interest rates going up. That is it for the numbers, and that is it for my analog and dialogue here. So if you guys have any questions about your specific scenario, you can call me or text me. All my info is below. You can message me on Facebook, whatever works best for you. Happy to help navigate you through the situation. I do it every day, and happy to help in any way I can, answer any questions, anything like that. So thanks so much for watching this one, guys. I'll see you next week.